So we have, in fact, developed a new paradigm of teaching music that we call the music learning cycle. And you have that on your handout, and I'm going to walk you and talk you through that a little bit. I'm so happy to have this thing here. There it is up there. And we even put these little icons in it, and those may or may not be useful to you to see them. But it's two circles. A paradigm, for a start, is a kind of a $4 word, which probably all of you have heard many, many times, but in case you're somebody for whom that is a new word, a paradigm is an overall model or a map. And it is characterized by a universal global quality. That means the paradigm is supposed to work in every situation. Now, they know about paradigms, that any given paradigm will work perfectly in almost all situations, except for this little tiny bit down here. And then as time goes on, there are more and more little tiny bits that don't quite fit the model, until one day there is a shift, which is why it's called a paradigm shift, and the whole model turns over and a new paradigm takes its place. Well, we believe that we have created a paradigm shift in putting together our understanding of how the music learning process happens inside children. Now, no single element of what we're going to talk about is in itself new. It's a way of putting it together, making a new map that is perhaps a little easier to follow and easier to understand, and gives you a feeling of security of, oh yes, this is where we are in this paradigm, and it makes a more comfortable process for you. So, the music learning cycle deals with learning on two levels. The functional level, that is how you actually do it, and the emotional level, which is how you feel about what you're doing. The functional level is how people learn. We have the auditory level, which is you hear the music. And for so long in the United States, as well as elsewhere, pretty much in the world, people did not listen to recordings. And more listening to live music became less common. And so there were children coming in learning music who had never heard it, and were in fact forbidden to listen to music because you might copy it. Well, gee, isn't it nice to hear a language before you're required to speak it? And of course that was Dr. Suzuki's enormous insight, that all children learn their language by being immersed in it. So we know that listening to recordings is a very important part of our process because they're not hearing it in the general sense. Then there is the visual aspect of learning. In order to learn music, we must be able to read and or see it. So there are, of course, instances where there are blind persons who learn how to play music without actually seeing it. But for most of us, reading a score and seeing the keyboard is a very important part of the learning process. And if we're going to be able to learn independently to play music that has no recording ahead of it, we need to have that functional skill. And when the music becomes very complex, it's almost impossible for most people to do it strictly by ear. So we need the ear, we need the eye. We have to be able to feel what we are doing. The feel of the keyboard under our fingers is an incredibly important part of it. I remember being in an elevator years ago at a workshop in Buffalo, New York, and there was a person in a wheelchair with his hands on the arms of the chair and a stick in his mouth to control the wheelchair. And my selfish thought, I suppose, was, oh, that poor man, he doesn't know what it feels like to touch the keys of a piano. And I became so conscious of the fact that I love how it feels when I play the piano. That sensual aspect of it is incredibly marvelous to feel. So what a privilege it is for us to be able to put our fingers on the keys and to touch them and to make music through them. The cognitive aspect, of course, is that we have to think and understand all the aspects of the music. Everything starts up here, after all, and our eyes and our fingers and our ears are the means by which we cause it to happen. Now, all of that was very well understood before. People knew that. But what they didn't really connect with it, and which is coming to the forefront more and more, and we have been arriving at our understanding during the last 35 years of working on analyzing and trying to help children and to understand how the process works best for them, is something that we understood a long time ago but didn't put together quite in the same way. And that is, if a child comes into the lesson terribly upset or in a negative frame of mind, no learning is going to happen at that lesson. And children do not learn if they are bullied or abused into learning. They may appear to make some progress, but it is overall a very negative thing. So we have realized that we need to promote the emotional factors that encourage learning. So the first thing that happens is the student has to want to learn. And for many of them, liking what they hear is the best motivation of all.